So I'm assuming I'll trust it, and it says that we're live, so I guess we're live.
All right, let's do it.
All right.
Hello.
Hey, hey, hey.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome to the Lunchtime live stream, the place where we come to engage in dialogue with one another about the kingdom at work in and around the community of Newsong in order to pursue discipleship to Jesus and its application in daily life together.
Dun, dun, dun. Way to go.
Thank you.
Yeah, we are here today, and I'm really excited about what today's Lunchtime live stream brings to us because
For sure.
as I mentioned this past weekend, hopefully you guys have caught on to it, we are engaging with our giving initiatives. And one of the giving walls, even if it's virtual, is Give Hope. And we are in partnership with Community Hope Center again this year. We've been doing this for several years in a row, and you get to hear from Denise herself. So Denise, would you introduce yourself?
Hello, Newsong family and friends. It's great to virtually see you. My name, if you don't know me, my name is Denise Ukena. I get to serve as an elder of Newsong and this wonderful family. And I also have the privilege of being on staff at Community Hope Center. And we are in the midst of one of our biggest ministries of the year, and that is our annual toy drive and Christmas ministry. Community Hope Center serves families in need. We have no geographical boundaries, but most of the people we serve come from Madison County. We're located just outside of Alton in Cottage Hills, Illinois. And each year we put on a very large Christmas ministry in which we invite parents to come in and select toys for their children. And we try to, we also include a small gospel message just to encourage people to lean into Jesus during this season and to trust him, and that there is hope and peace and comfort there. This year, our Christmas toy ministry is going to look a lot different because of COVID. And so we're doing things a little bit differently this year, but we're still very excited. We have about 250 children that are registered. I don't know how many families that breaks down to, but I'm sure it's well over 100 families that we're serving.
Wow, that's
And
great.
this year, though, because normally our building is chock full of toys and chock full of people, and as we know, that's not the order of the day. We can't do things that way this year. So what we have decided to do is we're contacting each family individually, trying to develop a wish list for each individual child, and then meet at least one, if not two or three of those wished for items. And so, and then instead of inviting parents into the building, again, just for safety of volunteers and the parents and the families, we're bundling up those gifts and letting the parents come and pick them up. So it's a contactless delivery system. But hopefully in some small measure, it's more personal in that we're trying to shop for each individual child, as opposed to just putting together like a toy shop of things and letting the parents pick for their children.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we're seeking help from the Newsong family, a way that you can engage with this is to help shop for these kids. And we have put together a safe, contactless way to do that. We have gift registries that are on Target.com and Walmart.com. Can you guys still hear me?
We can hear you. There you are. You're back now.
Okay.
You're
We couldn't see you.
Somebody tried to call me.
I just saw a picture of your cat, maybe.
Okay, so if you go to Walmart.com or Target.com, we have set up registries where you can pick something to buy and you can have it shipped directly to us. So you don't have to leave your house. You don't have to bring the gift to us. You can have it sent directly to us, and then it's kind of fun for us because we get to open up the Amazon boxes or the Target boxes, and then the kids get to open it up as well. So it's like a double opening blessing. So, and
Double hope.
If you are an Amazon shopper, we do have an Amazon wish list that you can access, but I don't understand the internet, but for some reason, I can't just point you to that list. If you want the Amazon list, email me and I can email you the link. That is the only way that link works. And so I will put my email in the comments of this live stream. And hopefully I won't get spammed too hard by the bots, but it's something I am willing to risk for all of you. So. We're just very excited. The season of hope, that's what the season is all about. Community Hope Center has had a tremendous year. Our community has stepped up so incredibly during this season of COVID. I got to give a shout out to some of our Newsong family members. When the Granite City Breakfast ministry was disbanded, they stepped in and started helping us out on Thursday nights. And so there's been a core team coming out every week and helping out with food distribution. And so it's just been tremendous. And 2021, I'm just believing God has set us up for an absolutely tremendous year. We have 2 new programs that we're looking to launch. And so I'm not going to take up all of our time talking about that, but if you want to know more, I am happy to share with you the good things that are coming our way and that have been happening in this ministry.
Very cool.
That's awesome.
Very cool.
That is awesome.
It's exciting to think about the timing of, I mean, Community Hope Center, we've been in relationship with for several years. And over the years, we've done the toy drive and we've helped out with the garden. And, you know, there's different ways that we've engaged with that. But in particular, this year, as we think about the impact of COVID on job loss, on families, and the like concern about what Christmas can even look like. It is such, I mean, toys seem so small, but to a child, it communicates a sense of you are loved, you're cared about. And so to be able to be an organization that is providing those resources in a tangible kind of way, I think is really powerful. So I'm so grateful for the opportunity, especially on Giving Tuesday, a day where, you know, it's a global movement of giving of ourselves and our resources. And you guys have just made it easy. We don't have to go to Target. We can go to target.com. And I think that that's a really powerful invite. So I'm really grateful
and how cool
for the opportunity.
That you've got these individualized gifts coming in, like you said, that it's not like just we have this pile of toys and so we're sending out sort of a box full to this family and a box full to that family. That's very cool.
And that it can feel even like more distance, but it's not. It's more personal in that way too. Which I also I found the Walmart one and I went ahead and put it in the comment section. So that link should work, hopefully.
Great. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And we are like, because we're family and I can lean in a little bit more, you know, we are trying to hit like the $25 and up threshold. We do have a lot of people who do not, who don't have a lot of means that want to give back. And so we do get a lot of those $5 to $10 price range toys. And so we're good with that. So as you scroll through, if you're able to, we don't ever want to push people beyond what they're comfortable doing. But if you're able to look at maybe one of those $25, $30 gift items, those are the things that kids want, that sometimes are just really stretching mom and dad's budget because they might have 2 or 3 kids that are wanting those types of gifts. And so we encourage you, if you're able to take a look at those types of toys. You know, whatever your kids want, that's what they want to.
Yeah, I'm sure. That's awesome. That's awesome. I see Christy is back with us today. Christy, good morning to you. I don't know how to chat on this thing. I back you. So the shout out is live. Always good to have you with us.
I miss my friend.
For sure.
Yeah. Yes. So different ways to engage. We'll put the links out there on the Lunchtime live stream so you can engage with that. The Giving Initiatives commitment card also gives some of those pieces of information if Newsong family wants to sign up, and we can help exchange and coordinate some of that communication. But always grateful for the relationship we have with you, Denise, and Community Hope Center, and the impact that you guys are making in our community. So grateful for your leadership in that way.
I appreciate that. And I will say one other thing too, I almost forgot. Barb, one of our coordinators, has said if anybody is interested in coming out and helping to sort these toys, we'll be starting that about the week of December 7th. We have large rooms. We don't want groups of anyone more than 4 or 5 people. That way we can keep everybody distanced. We can provide masks and gloves just for enhanced safety. But if you and a few friends are interested in doing something like that, again, email me and we'll get you in touch and try to figure out a day and a time that works for everybody.
That seems like that size. Is that even then, like, could families do that together? Like kids and stuff? Would that be?
Yes, they could, but
Yeah.
we're just speaking from experience that
Yes.
little kids can sometimes hinder the process more than help it. Not trying to disparage anybody's perfectly well-behaved children, but there will be a couple of other volunteers, probably the coordinators that are there. So just a pause on the family thing in terms of just make sure that, I mean, we've had our life group, we put the kids down in the big deep boxes, and they pick up and hand us things because their legs and knees are a lot younger than ours, you know. But yeah, that's something that we can possibly work on depending on the dynamic.
That's
and
cool.
then they have until December 20th to contribute, right? Because is that right? Or no, it's before
actually,
then. It's the week before.
If we can get the gifts by December 7th, that enables us to inventory, sort out, get everything to the family that it needs to be, because we need a few days to do all that back end logistics work as well.
Great. So sometime in the next week, make sure you give to Community Hope Center in the annual toy drive.
Yes.
Very cool. Very cool.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Denise, for being with us.
Thanks for joining us today.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Maybe we can have you back after the first of the year and kind of get a report on how it went and a little bit of touch base.
I would love that. Thank you.
Awesome.
We'll see you later.
Thanks, Denise.
Bye.
Bye. Very good.
That's so cool. What a great
it is.
And
it is.
I just put the target list in the comments too. So in case people are wanting that nice and easy access.
So Lindsay, you're mentioning initiatives. We may have folks that really don't have a background in what we do and how long we've been doing it and sort of the lens behind that. If you don't mind sharing just a little bit.
Yeah, so we're doing giving initiatives. We've done it for several years now, and it's really just this idea that in the Advent season, in the anticipation of Christmas, that we are moving towards generosity. And the way that we can do that is engage with organizations that are doing good in the world and the restoration of all things. And so typically we have 5 on average different initiatives that we work in throughout the season that kind of give you all an opportunity to give generously. And so this week we're highlighting Community Hope Center. Over the next few weeks, we'll be highlighting some of the other relationships and organizations we have. We have a relationship in Mexico and Eden's Glory, and we're also collecting coats and winter gear that we'll distribute throughout the community. And then we have a new one with Kiva, an organization that we'll also highlight and tell stories from over the coming weeks. But overall, if that is something that you're interested in, please put in the comments, because we can forward you the email that went out this past week that kind of gives an overview of how to engage with all of those. Usually we do that out of the Newsong living room where we have giving walls and we allow that to happen, but this year we're working in virtually, so we're still looking to make a big impact, even if it is a little bit different in the way that we organize. So encourage you that generosity, we worship a generous God, and so to move in that direction in the restoration of all things, I think is a really powerful invitation, even in a season where it feels like what is happening around me. There's something really grounding and centering as we move towards generosity and blessing others. So it's a great opportunity to do that.
Yeah, and certainly that's a part of, like you said, we've been doing this for years out of just that desire to ultimately lead people to generosity. This is a time of year where people sort of expecting to give, but generosity being at the heart of the kingdom and just the heart of who God is and the character of God. And when any of us journey with that sort of palms up desire to participate, to grow in generosity, there's always a blessing. There's a reality behind the statement. It is more blessed to give than to receive. So we're always grateful for everybody that participates. Some of these relationships we've had, like you mentioned, Mexico, we've had a relationship with them since the first year of Newsong with this orphanage there. So look forward to the next few weeks and telling some of those stories and kind of walking through what we're doing now, and maybe even remembering some of the partnerships we've had over the years that we've done initiatives for that we may not be doing now, but it's been an exciting thing. So Lindsay, glad to have you at the helm of this wing of Newsong's ministry, Love Our City, and to know that it's not just a city, but around here, beyond our county, beyond our country. So you're doing a fantastic job, and look forward to hearing more about it.
Yeah, thank you. I was reading this morning, and the verse that kind of came to me, it was Matthew 6:21 that says, "Your heart will be where your riches are." And for me, it was just this reminder of, yes, I want to live this out, and how powerful it is when we do that collectively and the impact that we can have. And so I appreciated that reminder this morning.
Yeah, for sure. That's the reality of who we are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, that's good. I think it's exciting to me because this ties together even with Sunday sermon. I think in a lot of ways, there was one quote in particular from Rachel Held Evans that you gave that included this line, or sort of ended with this line that said, "Justice means moving beyond the dichotomy between those who need and those who supply, and confronting the frightening and beautiful reality that we desperately need one another." And which is just so well put and ties together so many things. And in the sermon, you also said that something to the effect, this may be slight paraphrase, that the God who draws near intentionally identifies with the poor. And this matters for how we read the scriptures. Which, when you said that, it was like a light bulb. I was like, oh, that's so good, because it's so important to me, and I because of that, I think it should be important to everybody, right? But just being honest, but it seemed important because how we read the Bible and what we see God doing in it informs us of how we should live our lives. And so that the giving initiatives seem like this obvious one way, but an obvious way of applying these sort of biblical realities that God first is doing, that God himself is already championing, and doing that in our little corner of the world. In this truth that we desperately need one another. So I don't know, to tie those things together, do the two of you have thoughts about that? Is there more that you could say about the initiatives and that reality that we desperately...
I don't have time to say all I'd like to say or could say. But that's always, that's always me. It's always something floating in my head. I think again, we're in this new series called Advent Conspiracy, and we've done variations on this 2 or 3 times over the years, with the basic idea being we're in the season of giving and the season of Advent, which is the celebration, particularly for the faith community, the celebration of the coming, the expectation, the longing for, the waiting for the coming of the Christ child, in that sense, and in another sense, the return of Christ at some point. But it is a season that general, even culturally, we focus on giving, and Christmas is about that. And so it's really taken the lens of generosity of giving and trying to refresh that from a perspective of beyond just sort of how we spend money or spending money, because it is a beautiful thing to give, and ultimately the more you get close to your heart, like if it's your kids, their first Christmas, or the first Christmas that they're actually aware of what presents are, there's always a special meaning to it. But that's the intent of the series. And I think part of the launching it with some of those comments that you made was to remind us that God is the definition of good, and God is a giver. He's always giving of himself. He's perpetually giving. We call it grace, God doing for us what we can't do for ourselves. It's called love, his willing of what is good for us. So that's always flowing. And so, I found it interesting that, or to sort of maybe get to your question more specifically, I think it's important to understand that when Jesus comes, that he comes identifying with the poor for lots of reasons. But one of those that you mentioned is essentially this idea that there's a relationship giver to receiver that we can miss, even in our best intentions to give. And that is a sense of God identifying with the poor is essentially giving us the opportunity, if you would, to be reminded that we need to give as much as people need to receive. that it is part of where the beautiful life, the eternal life comes from. The more clearly I understand that, the more I'm free then to continue to just let that grow, to exercise that muscle in my life, and to know that it's the way God is wired and the way he wired us to experience deeper relationship with him and then with each other. That in that sense, whether there's a great gap between what I can give and those who have need, or whether it's just simply gift friend to friend, that there's a relationship that is worth noting, that I need as a human being the reminders that what I have, I find a better life if I hold that loosely and am willing to offer it for those in need, or even at Christmas time to say, you may not need this, but I want the blessing of giving it to you for the sake of, again, just the reality of giving a blessing. And that's as good for me. And so, but the more that gap grows, I think, again, to think of Jesus identifying with the poor is to say, Jesus himself said the poor will always be with us, but it's not the way the world was designed to be. When you look at Genesis 1 and 2, what we talk about as shalom, the flourishing of all things, God's design and desire for all creation, then, we're a long way from that. And so it's why we do these initiatives, or, why we keep doing them, because it's not just about we want to do good things for people that, that have needs, the orphanage in Mexico, Community Hope Center, whatever it may be. That's a good thing to do, to say, I want to do good. But to understand that we have a responsibility to, if we're part of this kingdom, intentionally living the way of Jesus, then it is to, in as much as we've done it for the least of these, he told us, we've done it unto him. That there's a relationship that I need to give of myself and of my resources when I see and know that there are needs, because I need that growth of character. I need that capacity to see my brother, my sister, this other human being made in the image of God, with worthy of dignity and belonging and worthy of a life of flourishing. I need to see them as equal to me and not as someone that, they have less, so I'll do the good thing and, do sort of I'll give them because I have leftover, as much as to see them as worthy of not just dignity, but that we are equals. Lindsay, you mentioned last week, and I quoted it Sunday, that compassion is from a relationship of equals. And so I think I'll shut it down with this. I keep talking. I think that's why, to some degree, it is important that Jesus came as poor, because we're going to look at God's Son and want to worship him. We're going to want to understand that he came to give of himself. Had he done that from the perspective of who he actually is, King of Kings and Lord of Lords, and come in that way, we would miss the whole need, or we'd more easily miss the whole need for our responsibility to will the good of those who aren't experiencing lives of flourishing. We'd more easily miss our role and responsibility to participate in their flourishing if we weren't seeing Jesus in that light. And so I think it is important that when we're reading the scriptures, then backing up from the bigger picture, that when we're reading it from it, we're always reading it from a perspective of, we don't have the needs that Jesus did, or his family did, or his culture did, or in our day what most of the world has. And so we have to have that as part of a lens to understand that the general sense of what the scriptures are those who are reaching, are those who are in need. And so it should bring us to an awareness of, whether we know it or not, we are in need, that we are no different from them in that perspective, that there is no us and them when it comes to our need for God, our need for his grace and strength and direction and wisdom in our lives, our ability to trust him to provide for our needs is just as great. We're insulated a bit because most of us aren't waking up wondering whether we're going to eat tomorrow, or wondering whether this bill is going to be paid, while most of the world is. And so it's just a reminder to us that there's a very thin line, even though we aren't always aware of it, a very thin veneer between we have what we need and it all falls apart, and we become those who are dependent on others. So there is a strong relationship. So that's the series is doing that. The series is turning, essentially the conspiracy is, we live in a consumer culture, and so let's refresh the lens on that, and less about what I can do for me or for those around me, and focusing more on how do we engage those who have needs that we can be resources for, and see them as equals, and see them as those deserving of the life of flourishing, the eternal life, and what's our role in participating in that. Go ahead, Lindsay.
Yeah, I was just going to add to that I think that one of the powerful things about remembering this story for me is, I feel like year after year there's like this evolution that happens within me of understanding poverty and my relationship to poverty, because I think that 18, 19-year-old me who went on a mission trip to Mexico or Haiti would look at poverty and say, oh, well, those people are poor, I am not. And so it really was that dichotomy of those who need and those who supply. And I think that in even grad school, going through like a social work program and learning and understanding my relationship to poverty, I think that there's definitely been an evolution there for me. And year after year, I think this, for me, I'm recognizing this like a conscientious consumerism where I become more mindful of the way that I'm participating in purchasing things and how I'm purchasing things and where I'm putting my money. And it's that reminder of where my riches are, there my heart is also. And so there's this, for me, I was talking to a friend yesterday about just blind spots and how often I can recognize a blind spot in myself because somebody else has showed me that blind spot. And so as I'm thinking about our relationship to wealth, and that specifically that statement that Rachel Held Evans had of this, we have to move beyond the dichotomy between those who need and those who supply. I think for me, it's recognizing that, oh, I've been blind to, like, my own wealth has insulated, kind of like what you were saying, Dave, and kind of what you're talking about on Sunday, is that the upside down nature of the kingdom requires me to recognize my own blind spots. And part of the action and practice that helps eliminate some of what I'm insulated by in my own wealth and understanding of resources is to move beyond that it is a relationship of equals, and that together we are all in poverty in some sense of it, and it may look different. But how I move through the world and the way that I give of my resources, and I think is really important. I think that it for me, it's an ongoing transformation of recognizing my own blind spots and where I can become so insulated in my own comfort, because it can be uncomfortable to give sacrificially. I think that that's the point of it. I think that it's supposed to stretch you. And so I appreciate every year this opportunity of, I like to name it as radical giving and generosity, because I think that when I look at the birth of Jesus, there's so much that doesn't make sense to me, that it all feels radical and upside down and not what I would have imagined. But I'm so grateful for that level of grounding that can come through that level of generosity.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note, because you're saying this, let me give it some language, that this isn't just about a let's do good thing, that it really is about character. It is, we need to understand the nature of this relationship, and we need to understand the nature of what generosity, our willingness to be radically generous, what that does for me, that it postures me to have a growing sense of an experience of a life that is a better way to live, and then to have the kind of character that begins to see then others, regardless of what their resources may be, as human beings with dignity and value and worth, and I judge them less, or don't see them through that same lens of somehow different, some of the category of humanity, and all of that again is a lens we can choose for this season. You mentioned the verse where you're, I don't know the translation you use. The translation that I've got in my head is, so where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. And in the New Testament, the heart is always the will. So that thing that you treasure will always get sort of your want to. You will focus on and want to engage in that. And so I think understanding that, if we treasure the growth of our character and generosity, then it just leads to a better life. Whether or not you attach that to faith, it does, because that's how God wired humanity to work. And so it is a good time, a good season to say, let's reevaluate this and let's turn this upside down from, the Black Friday ideas of, how to find your best life, and do it a different way and see if it doesn't bring about something better. So next couple of weeks, I know you guys are up to sort of teach us through some of that. I'm looking forward to it. Grant, you're up this Sunday.
I am. Yeah, I know. As the both of you were talking, I was swirling with all the things in preparation for Sunday, and I was like, oh man, I don't want to. I want to think through, and you know what I mean. I don't want to spoil too much. But it's all very exciting, and I think it's so, I don't know, I think it's so relevant that even sort of that, even the justice of God, that moving beyond that dichotomy is, as Paul said in Philippians, it is, and I think the NRSV sort of talks about that God, that Jesus, who was equal with God, who was in the form of God, didn't consider it as something to be exploited. Is the language that the NRSV uses, that there is this something radical about that moving beyond the dichotomy and seeing that we desperately need one another. Yeah. That it just because money or whatever, that sort of culture or society or the things that we just sort of pick up don't bestow wisdom or value in any way that puts us above anybody else. Yeah. And that God alone gives identity and purpose and significance and gives it across the board to all, full and full.
Yeah. And you know, I think that's it just crossed my mind, a universal principle, not just in terms of generosity. We need the other. We're wired that way. And I think the more that we can understand that our life gets better when I look at the category of other, especially those others that are different, that I tend to more judge and criticize than welcome, that when I lean into that and to say, not just, again, so in terms of generosity, we have these categories that we talked about that aren't helpful to define as have and have nots, that this really is it. There's an equality here, relationship that's important. But you can apply that to other categories of other that we see as different, or, you know, that I'm not comfortable with, and understand that ultimately to pursue a relationship, to understand who they are as human beings, and that they are still made in the image of God, that they have dignity because of that can grow me, that my being generous with sort of my desire to give grace and understand and hear the stories and know others, particularly those whose stories is different than mine, is always a move towards growth in our lives. So that's moving away a bit from where we've been, but good stuff.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I'm just excited. It's all good, and I'm thinking about Sunday. So I guess I should probably just get back to writing and editing for Sunday before I give away all my secrets.
You haven't given away any.
Yeah. Oh, great.
Good deal.
Well, that's good. Well, I appreciate you both and everybody watching for joining us here at the Lunchtime live stream, and special thanks to Denise for taking some time for coming on and talking about all the good stuff that Community Hope Center is doing, and all the ways that we can partner with them, that we can do this move of justice, of seeing our need for one another in these really easy, intangible, and yet still personal ways that even online shopping nowadays can do for us. Yeah. So big thanks there. So I guess that's it.
Alrighty.
So
thanks for joining us again. Good to see you guys.
Yeah. Join us Sunday for Advent Conspiracy Week 2.
Virtually.
Virtually.
Yes.
9:15 on YouTube.
Yeah.
See you then.
All right. Thanks, y'all.
Have a good week.
Bye.